Hello and welcome to the Spa Francorchamps circuit in Belgium, where we are for round 11 of the AMA FSR World Championship, and joined as always in the commentary box by Simon Smith. G'day Simon, we're in for a cracker today I think.
Hello Matt, hello everybody, welcome to another fantastic cool broadcast from Formula Sim Racing and PSR TV. Yep, I think we're in for a good race today. If you hear me drowning during the broadcast, it's just because I've got my Belgian chocolate fountain in the commentary booth box, so we're going to be splashing about in that during the course of the events. But 22 laps, definitely a car and driver killer, and yeah, I think we're in for classic Formula Sim Racing today.
And if you hear anything random coming from my side of the microphone, is because whilst Simon's indulging in his Belgian chocolate, I'm going to be indulging in Belgian beer. And I think that it will be I think I'm probably got the better side of the ledger right there, although I'm probably the one that's going to be making not much sense by the end of the broadcast. But it should be good fun either way.
Slurring and slumping off your chair, but wow, Belgian beer, I think you have got the better end of the deal. I feel really down now.
I usually do slur at the best of times, let alone when I've had a bit of Belgian beer. So, either way, we'll set that aside. We've got a nice early start to tonight's broadcast, which gives us plenty of time to yabber on about not much in particular, and probably gives us a good opportunity to discuss exactly where we're at this stage of the championship, with, I believe, our championship leader not participating tonight.
No, he's absent for this race and for Valencia in 2 weeks' time. So this is the time when people like Pedro Mellon, who's second in the championship, and Mirko Lupini, who seems to be the new championship challenger from behind, this is their time to capitalise and really gun for it.
Absolutely, it's a interesting championship as it stands at the moment. Mohamed Patel leads the way on 209 points, which is 50. In fact, it's 61 points clear of Pedro Mellon. Sorry, my maths has constantly failed me.
Because 51 isn't enough.
No, 61. You just got to get that little bit extra. And Ivan Kalyanov is still third in the championship, although his results have sort of tapered off in the last few Grand Prix. Simon, is he having some mid-season jitters?
I think it was that crate of Belgian beer you sent to him.
You're probably right, but he seems to have got himself involved in a lot of silly incidents in the last few Grand Prix, and it's really curtailed his push to the championship. He's now 50 points behind Pedro Mellon in second place, and he's an eternity 111 points behind Mohamed Patel. And Mirko Lupini, who you mentioned, is a back-to-back pole sitter for the last few races, and he's really creeping up on third place in the championship, and another strong finish here tonight, and he may well be in the top three by the end of the race. So he's having a strong finish to the championship, but a couple of early contenders in Kalyanov and Nick Oldenhuis just seem to have fallen off the wagon a little bit, especially with Nick, who's been absent for the last few Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's a shame when real life gets in the way, but the people, they've fallen kind of so far behind now that they're kind of battling over the trophies on the rest of the podium. I think Patel, barring disaster, is off and away, and providing he doesn't miss more than 2 more GPs, he'll be fine. But it's the battle over second place is really hotting up with the likes of Mirko Lupini, who's come in slightly through into the season, but I bet he'd be kicking himself that he weren't there at the start in Adelaide. Adelaide? Not Adelaide at all. Melbourne, I don't know. Pass some Belgian beer.
As an Australian, I feel kind of insulted that you're mixing up our capital cities like that, and especially as a Victorian, which is obviously where Melbourne is located for those in the know, I'm rather insulted that you've confused it with South Australia.
No, it's my fault. I've been putting together a little backmarker Brigade Delatrez video, and I was just doing some laps around Adelaide because I really like that circuit, and obviously I've got to let Adelaide get to my head a little bit.
It is one of the classic circuits. We still race the V8 Supercar Series here in Australia at a very popular Adelaide round using exactly the same layout of track, and it still remains one of the most favoured tracks in Australia amongst Australians. But looking outside of the top 5, Simon Adebisi is obviously retired, still holding on to 6th in the championship, which probably says a lot more about the inconsistency of the people who seem to be finishing in the top 10 race after race. But just behind him we have one Nicola, who who's really just had some sketchy results as well lately. It seems to be that we've seen a momentum shift in the championship. At the start, we had a number of people challenging, and now that we seem to have different names up in the top 10. But I believe we've got some on-board footage here with Pedro Mello.
Yeah, I think the shift for AMA this year had different people at the start to what you have now. There's been kind of momentum shift with different teams and drivers all switching around and doing jiggery-pokery. That is the fun season of driver changes. So Pedro Melem comes up to Lecom, and there's some nasty bumps around this corner, may I add, and his car that he's running in, the Torrent Motorsport, has got a special livery this weekend in honour of charities that help support people like Felipe Massa, who we continue to wish every success and recovery. But they're running a special livery this weekend, so take note of that sexy looking car. But there's some really nasty bumps around this track, and it's one of those tracks where the barriers, despite the speeds that you're going on, are never quite so far enough away. So one mistake and you're not just losing the front wing round here, you're losing all kinds of things.
As we continue to ride on board here with Pedro Melon, you mentioned, as you can see here in the vision, that it is wide open expanses. There does seem to be a lot of grass around, but you are carrying such tremendous speed that one off, and you usually do find yourself meeting a dreadful end with the Armco barrier. You mentioned the bumps at Lacoum. There's also a pretty serious bump when you enter into Rivage, the first part of Rivage, which is the right-hander that follows Lacoum. And it's really, there's one that's right there at the just in the entrance to the corner. If you get your entry wrong, then it can certainly flick the back end of the car around. And, so it's a warning well heeded if you take note of those bumps and have a car well set up to handle those undulations in the racing circuit and the racing surface. Sorry.
Yeah, that's probably the worst bump that you've got on it, as we are on board with Pedro Melem, and he's going to be flying through Eau Rouge. Ooh, that's a kind of... oh, we're not on board at all. Oh, never mind. But with Pedro and coming into Lecom and Rivage, and you get to see these bumps. But yeah, I've met that barrier on the inside of Rivage more times than I've seen Mrs. Backmarker Brigade this weekend. So I think we'll see quite a few people meeting their general fates down there. But yep, this circuit, everyone loves it. I've only met one person, which is Ajibar Lawal, who's been critical of this circuit and doesn't like it. It's also been the circuit that we've had the lowest amount of downforce on so far for these FSR cars in 2009, because straight line speed and high gear ratios are really the key to getting the lap times down, and then you just kind of hold on and clench your buttocks around the corners and hope for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly the fastest track that we've gone to this season. Of course, that will be eclipsed by the likes of Monza a little bit later in the year. But it's certainly a track where you trim the wing off, and as you said, you just sort of you hold on for dear life around some of the corners here. But having said that, the likes of Pohon and certainly the last sector with Blanchimon and those type of corners, they're just dreadfully intense high-speed corners. And you really are holding on for dear life around them, but you're carrying such tremendous speed. It's from a driver's perspective, it feels well and truly awesome when you're sitting in the cockpit of the car. Yeah, there's nothing quite like it going around Spa, as Pedro Melem shows, and with Luca Lupini right behind as well. They're the two that have just set the times. Lupini currently on provisional pole in this Q2 session, as Melem just ahead of him gets right tank slapper on through Eau Rouge. But it's then in the slow corners that the problems lie, because you're so busy going around the fast corners you don't have the downforce to do the slow corners, and Melem put a right miserable end to his lap because he completely missed all apexes whatsoever of the bus stop, and he might as well have gone into the train station instead. But Luca Lupini currently top of Q2. Of course, the fastest 10 go through with their race fuel for this one. Melem is second, Mirko Lupini third, so he's in a Lupini sandwich. Orienta Stasionis currently the fourth, and only the fourth person on a fast lap. Yeah, they're the only four to have set times so far. We'll keep you updated as further drivers set times around here. So it's a very it's a track that entices you a lot because you always feel you can go just that touch bit faster around corners. It's sort of the same as the Hungaroring in that regard, whilst being a completely different type of track. So, you know, it's one of these tracks where if you're committed and you've got a good setup, then you're really in a good position to make up the lap time and be fast. But if you put one foot wrong at the type of speeds that you're doing around here, you end up with yourself in a whole load of trouble. So, and as you mentioned, the low-speed corners can be well and truly dreadful, and the pit lane entry, I might add, with the lack of downforce in these cars around this track,
which is narrower than any kind of supermodels inside leg measurement. I think as Alberto Dewan, I've been watching, has been off on his flying lap before he got to Stavlo, so that's not the best way to do it. You can quite easily drop it in there, and he pops through to go 5th fastest so far. Q2 is going to be particularly tricky because it's the longest circuit, possibly, or the longest lap time, with possibly the exception of maybe Singapore coming up. They've only really got 2 chances at getting this lap nailed and in the bag, and with such a long track as well, you can make so many tiny little mistakes, and it adds up so quickly, and suddenly you find yourself tumbling down the order. 26 drivers, of course, will be on the grid. Only one did not qualify, which was Alistair Brown for Delatraz GP. So 26 go through to the actual race itself, and currently Luca Lupini still top of the pile.
And you're certainly right about the lap time around here. It's a very long lap, usually well over the 1:44 mark. It's not, and Singapore not quite being quite that long, but it's going to be a tricky one to manage, as you mentioned, purely because of the length of the lap. But the other thing to mention about Spa is because of the length of the lap here, it's a track that is particularly hard on tyres because of the fact you're carrying low downforce and really giving the car a lot of lateral skidding through the corners with the low downforce. And it's a track where, more so than most other places, the qualifying times will really differentiate from your race pace times, is certainly what I've seen in my experience.
Yeah, because you're going so fast, the fuel load really comes down a lot as Alberto Dewan crosses the line and stays in 6th. Greg Lawson has abandoned his qualifying lap and is going out for another go, I think, maybe. But no, completely agree with you. My qualifying pace is about 3.5-4 seconds off what my full fuel lap pace is. So strategy will be important here. Engines as well, for the first time I really think for AMA, possibly this year, could well be in question because they can't do boost 1 and radiator 1 and just go full throttle all the way round. They're going to have to think of conserving some of their power for later on in the race. And what do? Do you go conservative and at the beginning and then push to the end, or do you try and get to the best position you can and then turn down the boost and turn down your revs and try and limp it on home? Michael Sen's put in an awful lap and has just gone off at the top of Eau Rouge in 7th position.
He's just had a nasty off there at the top of Eau Rouge. I was riding on board with him right then when he's clipped the inside curb and he's thrown that into the barrier, and he's only actually completed 1 lap, and it's a 1:52. And I've noticed that with a number of guys, only 7 so far have actually completed laps. And there's been a number of Greg Lawson is yet to actually complete a timed lap. And we're also yet to see Ajabal Alal complete a timed lap. So there's a number of guys here who made the top 10 who are actually struggling to get the car across the line to complete a lap.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that, of course, is I suppose they think that they can save fuel if they've got into Q2 by not going out on their laps. Benjamin Chong's not gone out at all. I think I saw him do 1 installation lap just to make sure his fuel load was right, and then he's straight back in the pits. As Luca Lupini ruined his fastest laps to date by going off in Sector 2, we've just been hearing from our race control. Mirko Lupini is just coming across the line Is that to start a lap or finish one? He finishes it, and he goes pole with a 1:43.693. That's an amazing 6 tenths better than his brother. But Pedro Mellem just pops in second and splits the Lupinis to take up a front row. So DHR is not getting it all their own way this weekend. Pedro Mellem's out to prove that he's going to get at least some kind of victory and comeuppance for 2009, which just leaves Orienta Stasionis and I believe Greg Lawson left doing laps out on track as qualifying 2 comes along.
Well, it's a very, very good lap there for Mirko Lupini. If he holds that provisional pole position, his third consecutive pole position for DHR, and he's certainly on fire at the moment when it comes to the 1 lap pace. But yeah, he's probably struggled at the moment to bring it home. He certainly struggled with it at the last round, and he'll be certainly hoping to turn that around here. Perfect chance though with Mohammed Patel not on track.
Definitely not going to get any better than that. Greg Lawson then is the only person that's left out on track for Orange Tech Racing, as he comes round into the fast butt cheek squeaking corner of Blanchimont, and then down into bus stop, and bus stop, one of those corners where you outbrake yourself and you've completely made a pig's ear of it, just as Greg Lawson has done kind of there. Hog that inside curb, which you can take more of than what you originally think. Cross the line, where does he go? 5th position, I believe. That is equal best for Greg Lawson in his FSR career, so well done. So, quick rundown of the Q2 top 10 now. Mirko Lupini takes, what's that, 3rd pole in a row? Does he not want to share it out with anyone else? Obviously not. Pedro Mellem starts alongside. Luca Lupini 3rd. Good to see Luca up there battling with his brother. Benjamin Chong 4th for Williamson Dynamics. Where did that come from? He must have popped that in quickly. Greg Lawson 5, Orienta Stasionis 6, Alberto Diwan 7, Michael Sen 8, despite doing a lap that was 8.5 seconds off of pole position. Ajibola Lawal didn't actually complete a lap and he goes 9. And the 10th driver didn't actually bother to go out at all. He was obviously trying to punt some beer off you, and that was Dovidas Malianauskas for Precision Motorsports.
I wondered why he stuck his head in the back of the commentary box and murmured something to the producer in the back, and must have been just asking for some of the beer. But as the producer knows, if you try and take the beer off me during a telecast or not, then it doesn't have good consequences. So very smart thinking on their part to deny that request. But either way, it's a bit of an odd thing. You haven't really got anything to lose by going out there and at least setting a time. And you know, certainly if he had have just put in together a reasonable lap, he certainly would have outqualified Michael Sen and Ajabal Alal, which would have been the difference between being 8th and being 10th. So that's an odd thing for from where I'm sitting.
No, agreed. I mean, that's a whole row on the grid. I mean, there's so many places that you can end up kind of tangling with people. La Source is going to be notorious, I think, this weekend. Not just for, AMA, but for all the races that's going on. There's Matt appears to have gone on a beer run from the track. But, yeah, I think bizarre, to be quite honest. Let's catch up with some news from the paddock while Matt Webb is on his beer run.
No, I'm still here. I had to duck out because I've lost vision, so I'm going to have to try and restart. I think for some reason my screen
That's
went
called beer
black.
goggles.
So, yeah. So what news do you bring, Si?
Aha, open up the post bag and see what we can find. DHR are now no longer, GMT DHR is now no longer GMT DHR, it's just DHR, which is Dahumane Racing, which of course Mirko Lupini and Luca Lupini are drivers for. Darren Johnston is not racing this weekend. He is off doing various things. Chris Knight isn't racing this weekend. He's having a birthday bash. Of course, Mohammed Patel on holiday for 2 races, so he's not going to be doing anything. Alberto Diwan, who started off in AMA this year and then went off to a much higher division, has come back with tail between legs and is back with faster than speed down here. So that should be interesting to see how he goes on his return. Delatraz GP, of course, we're going to have their debut of their new livery, having taken it over from RC Motorsports, but unfortunately Alistair Brown failed to qualify and Gary Cooper didn't actually turn up, so that was the end of that. And it appears that Greg Lawson has made a potential boo-boo with his fuel strategy, because he's worried that Parc Ferme has just ruined whatever qualifying lap he's just done. So that's the potentially the end of what could be a promising outing for him. Newcomers is Giorgio Lapis for Rothmans F1, making his debut this weekend. And I believe... Oh, and Tom Alders for Fast and Speed. He actually debuted last weekend out, but failed to qualify, but makes it in for his first race start. And I think that is pretty much all the news roundup for Formula Sim Racing AMA.
Well, I'm glad you've certainly got your finger on the pulse there. Sorry about that, I've just had to zip off from the server again because my computer still refuses to play the game, so I'm hoping to be back with you very shortly.
That's Belgian beer for you. You spilt it. You should have gone for Belgian liqueurs. I mean, I look at my belly and I've probably eaten all the Belgian liqueurs, so that's probably the end of that decision.
There was none left, so I didn't have a choice.
Crumbs are good. There's nothing wrong with crumbs.
Unfortunately, crumbs are all I'm usually left with, but that's beside the point.
So, Matt, do you have any predictions for this Formula Sim Racing AMA 2009 Belgian GP?
Absolutely, I'm expecting Pedro Mellon to step up, and certainly if I'm not expecting it, I'm certainly hoping that he does, because this is his prime opportunity. Mohammed Patel has dominated the championship so far, and he's absent for 2 races. Mohammed Patel needs to stand up right now if he wants to challenge. So I'm anticipating that he's going to step up and do that. If he doesn't, I'll expect Mirko Lapini there to pick up the pieces. How about yourself?
Strokes goatee beard. I think that Pedro Mellon will also step up. Let's hope he steps up to the winners' podium as opposed to second place, which is what he's so often used to. I think we will have a Lupini on the podium, but I'm not sure which one to go for. And I think Williamson Dynamics could be on for their best result of the season as well. Chong in 4th, that's his personal best of the season. Marco van der Broek is also racing with a special helmet. It's his home GP. So I think he wants points today as well. I do think, though, we will have at least 2 people out probably by the end of the first lap, courtesy of either Eau Rouge, La Source, or Le Com. All of the above. Something will go wrong.
Well, we've certainly seen in Formula 1 over the years that La Source is usually the source of a lot of carnage at the start of Formula 1 Grand Prix. We've had a couple of really massive accidents there in the last decade or so, and Formula Sim Racing doesn't tend to be any cleaner than Formula 1. Usually it's the complete opposite and is usually a lot worse. So I would be expecting a lot of carnage there at La Source, and if there's a few people that don't fall off at La Source, I would certainly expect to see a couple of people jumping curbs and smashing into barriers there at Eau Rouge. And then after that, down into Lacombe, you're going from 320, 330 plus kilometres per hour down to second gear, with a lot of guys with a lot of testosterone flowing through their blood and through their veins. I think that you're likely to see some problems down there. So we could be down to half a field after a few corners, in all reality.
Absolutely, and the amount of people that I think will be wanting to drink some sauce or be on the sauce at La Sauce, may be quite interesting.
we're just going to play our intro video very shortly for you. So stay tuned for that. But I think this is going to be a great race, Simon. I think that I'd hate to predict how many finishes we're going to have here today, because usually the AMA field surprises me. But I think this could be a more treacherous race for the mid-pack than any others so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we could see some surprise people up in the points. Let's hope they will stay cool. It's one stopping generally all the way, I'd think, for this one, because it's 22 laps, half distance. And get sit back and get ready for Formula Sim Racing 2009. It's the Belgian GP.
And welcome back to the Spa Francorchamps circuit here in Belgium, and we are for round 11 of the AMA Formula Sim Racing World Series. And well, we were with people before the break, Simon, but for those that weren't with us, doing commentary box by Simon Smith, and we were discussing just before the break, Simon, that this could be a real car killer, this race.
Yep. It certainly is. Hello everybody, if you did only just join us in the last minute and a half before that fantastic video, courtesy of, I don't know who it was, but they done a damn good job. We have 26 drivers, 22 laps, about 16 teams, and at least 10 people probably in the barriers by lap 10. I think it's going to be a car killer, driver killer, and I think anyone that gets out of it by the end of it will be patting themselves on the back severely for actually having made it. It's going to be an interesting race. I think it's going to be a survival of the fittest race, and it won't necessarily be the fastest guy that gets around the track will be the one left at the end to win it, because I think there's plenty of places to have mistakes. We have two people starting from the pit lane, that are Davidos Malinaskis and Rizwan Sarwar, for incidences at the previous GP. But the rest of them will be lining up on the grid, and that means 24 drivers pointing all of their nose cones into the source, which I think will be quite interesting.
I think Mirko Lapini, our pole sitter for the third consecutive round, will be breathing a sigh of relief knowing that he's starting first, although obviously he's the first one who can get hit into turn one. He's also not in high traffic, and we know exactly how treacherous La Source can be in the first lap of a Belgian Grand Prix. But we're about to have the cars head to the grid for the start of the formation lap. It's a track like no other, the Spa Francorchamps circuit, and it's bumpy, it's long, it's fast, and in areas it's quite twisty, and it's a scenario that's it's a script that's written for carnage. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys bring it home, and I hate to guess how many finishes we're going to have today, Simon, but it could be quite a low number.
I think so. You're talking about the script being written. I think there's more drama in this race than there's going to be in a whole year of EastEnders and Coronation Street combined. I guess I'm going to stick my neck out and say 15 finishers and one very unlucky person coming in last. But they're off on the formation lap, and here we go. Mirko Lapini on pole position with DHR. Pedro Mellem, 2nd place in the special livery for something. Ajibar Lawal has just been disqualified. Don't quite know what's happened there. We might be heading for a quick restart. I don't know what happened, but we'll continue on as if nothing happened and see if Ajibar Lawal cries. Luca Lupini, 3rd for DHR. Again, Benjamin Chung, 4th, best ever at Williamson Dynamics. Orienta Stasiunas, 5th, and Michael Sen rounds off the top 6. Ajibar Lawal disqualified in 7th. We'll see if he actually is able to take the start. Greg Lawson is 8th. Dovidas Melanaskis 9, and Thomas Marino rounds out the top 10, and we've been red flagged.
The race will be stopped because Ilya Costa in 21st position, was also disqualified. So I'm not exactly sure what's happening there. Rizwan Sawar is also sitting in the pit lane at the red light, and that's a very odd decision to take because parked there for that long, you're likely to end up with a whole pile of smoke coming out the back of your engine. So the race has been red flagged and will be restarted. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but we'll try and work out with everybody as to what happened. Just to continue on with the rest of the grid as everybody tries to reform and get started. 11th place is Ari Caselli for Team Rice Racing, lining up in front of teammate Anthony Herbert, which is a new name for me. That's a 3rd Team Rice Racing car, is that right, Simon?
No, we just never see Anthony Herbert so high up the list. That is a personal best, I believe, for the American driver, who's normally down the back or not qualifying. So well done to prove your worth on a driver's circuit like that.
Absolutely, that's a terrific result. Team Rice Racing 2, of course, which is the bit that caught me out. Ivan Kalyanov in 13th position, and he'll be disappointed with that. A guy who's fighting in the top 3 of the championship to be starting 13th. Michael Pieneman for Faster Than Speed is 14th. 15th, Heinz van der Hooydonk for Faster Than Speed as well. In 16th, we have Alberto Diwan for Faster Than Speed again. They're dominating that part of the grid. Not really the area you would be riding home about, though. Torrent Motorsports IPForge.com has Priyat Valja in 17th. 18th place, Malcolm Rice for Team Rice Racing. 19th, Morris Zandog for Backmarker Brigade, Simon, and good to see another one of your cars qualifying, making the grid, and qualifying in a reasonably decent position as well. Ahead of 20th place, Marco van der Hooy. I'll start again. Marco van der Broek for European.
Have another swig of beer, Matt.
Yeah, I think that I might have had too much. I'm not exactly what's up with me tonight, but I'm certainly slurring my words a little bit. And despite popular belief, I actually have a blood alcohol reading of 0.000. Must be just that time of night, I think. But
with
anyway,
a 1 in
Ilya
front.
Costa, he managed to get TQ'd at the last start for DHR. Indeed, Rizwan Sawar for European F1 in 22nd. Georges Lapis for Rothmans F1 Racing. Is that a new name for us?
It is indeed.
Thought so, making his debut here. Tom Alders for Faster Than Speed. We have Michael Fulcher in 25th. Alex Cooper for Backmarker Brigade. That's 2 of your cars in their side. Very, very good to see. We'll round out the field in 26th position.
That's not good for Alex Cooper, though. He's just spun off the start line and smacked into the wall and lost his front wing, and that's not exactly what I told him to do in the pre-race briefing, so well done, Alex.
Could we get a bit of team radio for that one, Si?
Alex, use your brakes. Use warm brakes, warm tyres. As Malinauskas has gone off as well, so they're dropping like flies, and it's only the formation lap. Whoops!
Absolutely crazy. Well, I predicted we'd have half a field left after 3 corners. I might be even understating it. We could have even less.
Well, Malinauskas is now going to be pulled off the track, and he's now going to be starting, I think, from the pit lane if he can get away with it. Alex Cooper might just plod it round. I know Alex Cooper's doing it as well. He's gone into the pits, and he's going to be starting from the pit lane along with Rizwan Sawar and everything else. Ajibar Lawal's having more dramas and troubles if he's caught downloading again this weekend, as he was in the Formula Fun race. I think he'll be kicked out. And we've been told there will be no restart for what's gone on, because Ajibar Lawal, 7th position on the grid, is in the wall. So if he quits and restarts quickly, he'll get away with it, because advantage of having a massive formation lap means you can go and repair your car, but I think he's choosing to go round and fix his front wing in the pits while everyone else goes green. So maybe tank it up with fuel and see how far you get.
Yeah, that's a bit of a silly decision. Alex Cooper has certainly made the right call. And Malinowskis, because they've jumped the pits, and I think we have somebody else off the road as well. Who's that down there?
I think it was supposed to be
Riz is off the track.
Yeah, Rizwan Sarwar was supposed to be starting from the pit lane anyway, so he shouldn't have been out on track because Ajibal Lawal is off into the gravel again. The problem is, though, is that everyone else is forming up on the grid, and the grid won't set until Ajibal Lawal is in a grid slot or in the pits. So this is going to play havoc with everyone's engines because Lawal is only getting into the fast sections of the track now, and that is ruining it. And someone's completely mucked up their grid slot as well. Oh, it's one of the TMOs, Michael Sen, getting in position on the grid. Let's see if this race actually goes.
Yeah, we could have engine failure on the grid here. They already are marginal. And Ajibal Lawal is actually heading for pit lane. That's crazy. He should have just escaped and gone back to pit lane. There was no need to hold up the entire grid whilst he goes to pit lane. And that's a very, very odd piece of driving for me. But we're about to get underway here. The lights are on. The lights are out, and we are go, and we have the big run down to La Source here, and there's already carnage at the back. I saw a sideways car. I'm not sure if it was lag, but that's Pedro Mellum up the inside of turn 1, and a couple of cars running wide there. So far, so good, but, well, I actually think they got through there rather cleanly. And it's Pedro Mellum leading the way down to Eau Rouge.
Yep, it was a faster than speed car that got sideways and smacked the wall, and Lawson was off on the grass as well. But Mellum leads. Sen just jumped into second because Marco Lupini had a bad Eau Rouge. And let's see if he can get in the slipstream. I can see a front wing bouncing around in the background as Marco Lupini in third goes off, and Benjamin Chong's going to try and go around the outside. He's gone off as well, and Luca Lupini's going to try and take the pair of them. But oh, that's a bit wrong driving. Greg Lawson's off. Rivage there as well, and is dropping down the order like fly, and that's disaster there for Lawson on what was his best position. Ari Caselli is off the track without a front wing, I believe, or has he smacked the wall? Maurice Zondag without a front wing as well. So carnage at turn 1, lap 1.
Yeah, at Eau Rouge there was a front wing bouncing around on the exit of Eau Rouge. I wasn't sure who it was, but by
it was Maurice Zondag.
To Maurice Zondag. So not a good start for your team there, Simon. Just crazy.
My bank budget is going to go through the roof.
It's just crazy. I'm just actually laughing because I'm amazed that everybody, or mostly everybody, got through. Who we see? Michael Pianaman dropping back through the field here, and he's got big problems with his car. He must have been off and slapped the barrier because he's dropping through the field like you wouldn't believe, and looks like he's struggling to maintain that car in a straight line, which is not a problem that you want around here at Spa.
Certainly not. Crabbing's the worst thing to do, as Benjamin Chong nearly losing it coming out of bus stop at the end of lap 1. But he's going to hold his position, and it's Pedro Mellon, Michael Sen in second, Marco Lupini third, Luca Lupini 4, Sen from 6th to 2nd on the opening lap there. Great stuff. Benjamin Chong 5, Stasing is 6, G1 on his return 7, Van der Hooydonk on his retirement that never was 8, Ivan Kolyanov's disposed of a lot of people in his 9, Anthony Herbert, best result so far for 2009, 10th position for the American, and Malcolm Rice up 8 places to 11, so it pays to have stayed out of trouble. And to make Ajibal Lawal's race even worse, he didn't actually even start the Grand Prix, so hot-headedness again for the young Englishman. But plenty of people in the pits, Pianaman and Thomas Marino.
There's a gaggle of cars in the pit lane. I can see 3 down there. That's Ari Caselli, Michael Pianaman, Maurice Zondag, Thomas Marino, all in the pit lane. And, well, it's just been a chaotic first lap here. Thankfully, all the cars have got through, except for Ajibal Lawal, who didn't take the start of the race, as you mentioned. So, cars are still in a race, but there is there was a lot of incident on that first lap. A lot of cars involved in a bit of silliness, and they've all ended up in the pit lane getting significant repairs. Maurice Zondag looks like he's going to be stopped there for quite some time.
Boo. But this has all been fantastic for Pedro Mellem, who's opened up 2.3 seconds over his teammate Michael Sen, who's busy grouping the Lupinis up into the back of them, and Mirko Lupini is getting into the slipstream of Michael Sen to see if he can have a look down into the bus stop. He's going to try it round the outside, try and hold on round the outside line. Sen covers the line. Lupini then tries to the exit, and the good thing about that is you can run wide and then go at the source. Sen closes the door. Lupini then goes to the outside while Luca watches. Oh, a little bit of mini budge there, but Lupini dives through for the inside, pushes Sen off wide and then takes the position. Sen's going to try and dive it back up the inside there, but Mirko Lupini's having none of it, and now he can sit into the slipstream, try and get through Eau Rouge and then have a go with Lecomas. Through Eau Rouge we go on board with Michael Sen. That's looking superb there, but Luca Lupini's going to try and have a piece of the action as well. Everyone wants a piece of pie around the Spa circuit. Luca Lupini's going to pull out wide and have a go. Michael Sen pulling out as well to try and cover the position, and whew, well, that's what we call drafting and slipstreaming, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that for great driving.
Absolutely phenomenal from Michael Sen. He battled for position with Mirko Lupini all the way through the bus stop chicane, lost position down into La Source, never gave up, stayed on the back through Eau Rouge, and then on the entrance to Lacombe, dived up the inside, outbroke him. It was a spectacular piece of driving from them both. Michael Sen back in second position, and more importantly, behind his teammate, who's battling for as many points as possible. Michael Sen got a role to play here today, you think, Simon, for that championship?
Why the hell not? Because Michael Sen isn't involved in this championship battle. He is there to play the percentage game, I think, and he's done a fantastic job for jumping from 6th to 2nd on the opening lap, and now he's in prime position to keep Pedro Mellem up on that glory spot as the Lupinis continue, and I think we're going to have round 2, but add in Benjamin Chong, who's now sitting on the back of Luca Lupini. Alberto Di Juan as well, keeping a watching brief in 6th position, and those 6 are pulling away. Michael Pieneman has retired from this race for Faster Than Speed. He's our second retirement of the day, as Luca Lupini bustles through the inside of Mirko Lupini, coming out of the bus stop chicane, and Mirko Lupini must have outbroke himself into that bus stop, and Benjamin Chong's going to have a go in the inside as well, but he smacked the wall, but he's going to make it stick. Benjamin Chong makes it stick there through to the source, bounces across the bumps, but he's off and away, and Mirko Lupini, for whatever reason there, losing out dramatically to both first his brother and then a rival.
And I'm querying whether he's got suspension damage, because he's got a couple of sparks coming out the back of that car in odd places, and it's possible that he's picked himself up some suspension issues, because he had certainly dropped some speed, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens to his race over the next few laps. He is holding on to the back of Benjamin Chong at the moment, so we'll be certainly looking to see what happens with that over the next few laps. So stay tuned with the Mirko Lupini battle, but he's certainly losing time now to Chong and his brother out there in 3rd place.
Certainly, and just right behind them there's a ginormous battle going on. Van der Hooydonk, in 7th, and Malcolm Rice. Malcolm Rice has got a car that's much more underneath him in 8th position. Van der Hooydonk's gone wide through Pouon there, but he's kept the position, and Malcolm Rice is poised to have a nose. Oh, he stuck his nose in. That's not the place to have a stick a nose in round there, Lafangis chicane, because you're only going to get it chopped off. Right behind is the recovering Greg Lawson and Anthony Herbert. Priyat Valia, who's done so well in his opening races, is in recovering 11th from starting 16th. Michael Fulcher is 12th, and he's actually passed Marco Vanderbroek for 13th, who's running in a points-paying position on his home GP. And then you've got Kolyunov, who's just passed Tom Alders and Elia Costa for 16th and 17th positions, with Giorgio Lapis in 17.
And it just goes to show you just how much things have changed from the start of this race. We saw a whole bunch of those guys drop back through the field. All of a sudden, a majority of them backed up there in the top 10. We saw Greg Lawson drop all the way through the field after the start, starting from 5th. And he's just passed Malcolm Rice. There in 8th place. So he's moved his way up into 8th place now. It's a good recovery drive here from Greg Lawson, and goes to show if you keep your toys in the pram and keep your head, then all you need to do is knuckle down, stay on track, and a lot of times you can recover. And that's change of position. It looks like Benjamin Chong dropping through the field, is it, or is it just Lad? He's gone off the track and gone through the grass down at Lecombs there, and he's now got Orienta Stasiunas right all over his tail, and that looked like he was trying to keep
the Lupini behind him there of Mirko, and all got a bit wrong, and Stasiunas getting a little bit hairy on that curb, and I think a lot of people will be getting hairy on that curb, so that's a disappointment there for Benjamin Chong, but still in 5th position and still very much in contention, and Michael Sen still playing the percentage game, keeping everyone at bay, but with the Lupinis busy battling each other, they're dropping to 6th and 7 seconds off Pedro Mellem, who's waltzing away up the front, leading this Belgian GP. As Greg Lawson and Malcolm Rice side by side through the Lafang chicane in 8th and 7th position, and Malcolm Rice like a dog with a bone, to quote a certain Mr. Webb earlier on. Alberto Diwan has retired from the race unseen by us as well, which is why they're all now running 7, 8, 9, Anthony Herbert 10, and Luca Lupini has let Mirko Lupini through down at the bus stop chicane and let his big brother go. Big brother obviously thinking that he's got the pace and is going for the win.
Absolutely, odd move there. Obviously Mirko Lupini recovering. We were just saying a lap or so ago that it looked like he may have been struggling, but he certainly got himself back in a position here. And Heinz van der Hooydonk just looking like he's falling back into the clutches there of Greg Lawson and Malcolm Rice.
Absolutely, Priat Valier there just had a good nose up the outside of Anthony Herbert, who held him off. Now Herbert is right in the slipstream of Malcolm Rice, who made a dodgy attempt on Greg Lawson and it failed. And who's that going slow? Van der Hooydonk has dropped behind Greg Lawson. Hooydonk got an awful run through Eau Rouge, slid, and Lawson's passed. Now Malcolm Rice is going to dive through into the chicane. Can he hold it? No. Van der Hooydonk tries the outside. Herbert smacks Malcolm Rice's rear. Valier's in there as well, and oh! Somehow everyone's still got all their pieces of car held on, but that's going to let Michael Fulcher pass Valier if he's not careful, but Valier holds the line, Priat Valier there. So this little gaggle of cars certainly providing some entertainment, and Marco van der Broek has just gone off right behind them. I was just about to say that he's about to catch the lot of them, but van der Broek got it all wrong there into Stavlo, and that will drop him into the clutches of Ivan Kolyunov, and Marco van der Broek off again at Puon. Oh, and is that Kolyunov completely off there into the wall, and he's lost his front wing. Sorry, Matt, but Kolyunov looked like he went straight on Puon and decided to have some love fest with barrier time, and he's getting in the way of other people. He's got to be careful, but he's made Malinauskas spin.
Malinauskas. Well, Malinauskas, he's spun around trying to avoid Ivan Kolyunov. And Kolyunov's into the wall again.
Kolyunov, no re-ring.
It's just carnage out there. It really is for some of these guys.
He's not playing
Ivan
Destruction Derby on PS1.
No, he's not. He's lost his front and rear wing. He's caused another guy to crash off, and that's got to lead to retirement. Surely he's going to be in the pits for a very, very long time. At this rate, even if he can get it back to the pits, he's going to have fun pulling that to a stop down here at bus stop.
Absolutely. I mean, he's one of the few people. He's one of the few people that have actually finished every single Grand Prix. So he's got to kind of keep his record together. But I don't think he'll be scoring points this weekend. As Michael Fulcher in P9, what's he up to? He's gonna just chops across Priat Valier there, and the pair of them have got past Anthony Herbert unseen by my beady little eyes, because we're busy watching Kolyunov doing a crash fest. And next up for them is Malcolm Rice in 8th position, who looks like he's sitting duck with Van der Hooydonk just ahead.
Malcolm Rice being held up by Heinz van der Hooydonk, and the whole incident with Ivan Kolyunov there and Heinz van der Hooydonk behind him was just going to prove a point that I was just going to make with van der Hooydonk down on the entry to Lacombe. At a race like this where the cars are all bunched up and they're all travelling at relatively high speeds with low downforce, it only takes one car to be slightly off kilter into a corner or slightly slower, and you bunch up the field, and next thing you know you end up with a whole bunch of incidents. That happened with van der Hooydonk down into Lacombe, where he was on the racing line, but he was travelling slightly slower than everybody else. Everybody decided to take the opportunity and try and dive up the inside, and it led to the contact between Rice and Valier. And it's just it's one of these things where these guys spot a gap and they go for it, and you know it's the racer's mentality. That's and then we saw it with Ivan Kolyunov, where he was travelling slowly on the racing line, and it caught out Malinauskas. And he spun around, and it's certainly one of those things that just catch drivers out and end up with a whole lot of tears, and it's usually the victims are usually the guys who played no part in it.
Certainly, I mean, the kind of thing that goes on, I mean, everyone's going to try and finish, and everyone wants to try and get things home, and they'll do it any which way possible, and obviously they're going to try and do it, but they need to do it as safely as possible, and think about the checkered flag that they're actually going for, as Malcolm Rice and Michael Fulcher battling there through, and Fulcher round the outside of Malcolm Rice into Rivage there and holding him off through Stavlo. Malcolm Rice will be he's got a car that looks very, very stable underneath him, whereas people around him, Herbert, there you could just see hitting the curb and sliding off, not looking quite so stable around him. But while all that's going on, Mirko Lupini is now into the slipstream of Michael Sen, and that could look for good fun as well. And the people who, of course, are picking up on the pieces that have been smashed by everyone else, Marco van der Broek, Kelly Acosta and Tom Alders, are suddenly in point-to-pain positions as Mirko Lupini outbrakes Sen. He's got much, much better braking under the straight-line speed, and perfect, fantastic move there by Mirko Lupini, and that is what could a winner's move could be. Can Sen get back out of the slipstream and take him into La Source? No, he doesn't think of it. He's taken a little tighter line, but that's not going to pay dividends. He's going to sit into the slipstream, see if he can have a go down into the chicane after Eau Rouge, down that massive long straight, and he's primed and tickled for this one, Matt.
Absolutely, Mirko Lupini fighting his way back after a couple of early incidents that dropped him back down to 5th. He's got himself back up into 2nd place now, looking extremely pacey. Pedro Mellum is nowhere near safe. Just as we say that, into Lacombe, Michael Sen outbrakes him around the outside and takes back 2nd position. This is an absolute outstanding battle between Sen and Lupini, and the younger of the Lupinis, Luca, keeping a watching brief behind there in 4th position, but this one's a long way from over, and Pedro Mellum is nowhere near safe.
Absolutely, I mean, Luca Lupini's just hoping that these two go and get a bit hot-headed. We've seen Michael Sen in lots of incidences so far this season. Ari Caselli has just retired for Team Rice Racing, by the way, but these are going to go completely, I mean, this is how racing is done. You keep it clean, you keep it safe, but you respect each other on the track, but still be quite prepared to rip each other's head off under braking into corners. But Lupini is going to be getting back into the slipstream just under this rear wing and just gently tickle the rear end of Michael Sen and pull out at the right time and poise and pass. And is he going to try it at the bus stop? Yes, he's going for his favourite old outside approach. Sen has to go defensive, and that gives Lupini the best position for the inside for the next part, but Sen's got it covered, and he's learning. He's definitely learning from letting him through last lap. He's chopped him off and kept the line. But the thing with that is Lupini just needs to keep calm, keep it together, and then keep him nice and close through Eau Rouge, which is easier said than done. And then have another go down into Lafang as Fulcher and Herbert and Van der Hooijdonk are all having a good old scrap behind. We're spoilt for choice today.
There's certainly battles all the way through the field. Mikhail Fulcher up the inside. There's contact with Van der Hooijdonk there at La Source, and I think they both got away with that. But that's Van der Hooijdonk taking back 7th position. These guys are they're fighting tooth and nail there to maintain position and get position, and it's making for some outstanding racing, and they're really turning it on for us here today, Simon, because no one's willing to give up anything, and they're willing to sacrifice everything to take it as well, and it's leading to some great racing as Fulcher has a look at Lacombe, and he's forced Van Hooijdonk off one and takes position through the first part of Lacombe. And
Herbert's going to go through as well.
And Herbert, I'm sure. Herbert moves his way up into 8th place. That is outstanding racing. Van der Hooijdonk not giving up here. Dog with a bone stuff from Heinz Van der Hooijdonk. And looks like he's actually going to lose position to Priet Valja. And that's rather unlucky for him. He didn't make much of a mistake there, just purely trying to defend position. Has actually dropped him back to the back of this pack. But the good news for him is that it's been well proved today that being back there isn't necessarily going to cost you too much, because it's looking pretty easy to skype your way back through the field at the moment, unless he copped damage with that contact with Herbert there at Lacombe.
Certainly, the Lupini brothers, while you was watching that, were having a right good ding-dong, and Luca Lupini is now on the back of Mirko, and he's going to have a go down into the source. He's saying, wait, brother, I don't want you to have all the glory. Give me a little bit, please. I'll be interested to see which one's the older and which one's the younger, because I think they could be sibling rivalries, and Michael Sen's obviously their favourite toy that they both want to have. And they've got to be careful. They all three were so close while that little battle was going on. And Mirko slightly outbraked himself and was in trouble with Michael Sen, and that pushed them apart again. But Sen, feeling the need to go defensive and chop off that straight line speed slipstream that you get down that back straight, and they've all pushed apart a little bit, and Luca Lupini's dropped back. That's Priya Valia, they're past Van der Hooydonk for 9, and there's something going on further down. Davidos Malianauskas has just gone round the outside of Mirko van der Broek for 12th position, and I think I saw a certain Malcolm Rice dropping down the order as well at some point. Oh no, he's not, he's just gone past Van der Hooydonk.
It was Anthony Herbert you saw dropping down the timesheets. He's been off the track in a plume of smoke, so he's back online now, but he's dropped down to 11th position, and he's still relatively safe, 5 seconds up the road from, 7 seconds up the road actually, from Malinauskas and Marco van der Broek. And looking behind, it's not a very good day for Faster Than Speed, Simon. Thomas Marino, Alberto Dewan and Michael Pianaman all retired from this Grand Prix in the opening 4 laps.
That just leaves Van der Hooydonk left, and he's got his face full of Malcolm Rice, who obviously wants to get back through again. So good stuff from Van der Hooydonk, who's having his best race really of 2009, the race after he said that he'd retired. So obviously retirements are having good fun. Pedro Mellem, though, is the first one to blink, lap 11, bang on half distance into the pit lane, and he's going to rejoin somewhere around Greg Lawson in 6th position, as Sen takes the lead from Luca Lupini and Mirko Lupini and Luca Lupini 3rd. Stasiunas is through, Mellem out in 5th position, well ahead of Greg Lawson, and that's into clean air, so that's important for Mellem to keep himself well ahead of everyone else and in prime position for that golden trophy.
The thing that's got me about this race today, Simon, is Mirko Lupini is clearly faster than Michael Sen. He's been past him a few times, but once he's through, he doesn't seem to be put in the gap. He makes mistakes and gets back position, and it seems to take Mirko Lupini then a few laps to build up the speed again to have another crack. He's clearly faster, and here he is stuck here in 2nd position as it is at the moment behind Michael Sen, and it's actually costing him a shot here today, but more so than that, it's actually doing wonders for Pedro Mellem, who looks like he's going to be able to romp away with his victory at the moment, without so much as a challenge. Michael Sen doing a terrific job there, whether it be deliberate or not. He's certainly holding up Mirko Lupini, who's looking very pacey out there, but unable to do anything about him at the moment.
Certainly, and he's bang on in the slipstream again for another go. He's like man on heat, and he's got much better under braking than Sen, but Sen just seems to have that kind of do or die mentality, and they're both into the pit lane together, and Sen there giving a lick of paint to the wall, and this will be interesting. I think someone's just crashed into the wall. It's Orienta Stasiunas behind, but we'll keep on with these two because these two are the important two, but that's going to ruin Stasiunas' 5th position if he's not careful. But Senin and Mirko Lupini, who's going to get out first? Sen holds it. There's Greg Lawson there in the background in as well. This is obviously the time to pit, but Sen holds it from Mirko Lupini. Watch them as they come out. The pit lane, I find, is very hard to stay within, but Sen's got it, and if anything, he's actually increased his lead over Mirko Lupini. But can now Luca Lupini, who's still going, leapfrog the lot of them by going longer and find himself in a rather lucrative 2nd position?
Which he could well do. Michael Sen, rather than leaving a lick of paint on the wall, I think he actually got out and slobbered all over it. He absolutely rode that pit wall on the way in, and I wouldn't be surprised if he had to quickly flip through his pit board and make sure that he didn't actually repair damage, because I'm quite sure he would have ended up with some suspension damage the way that he decided to get out and ride that wall into the pit lane. It's a very dangerous thing. Obviously pushed very hard through there, and it's helped him because he's got a time advantage over Mirko Lupini now. But you've got to be very, very careful. It's such a narrow entry. It's like trying to force some thread through the eye of a needle. It's It's very difficult, and you're better off with caution being the better part of valour, and making sure you live to see another day. So, anyway, no more cliches. Michael Sen maintains position over Mirko Lupini. The question, as you said now, is Luca Lupini, who surely will be in this lap.
And he is, just bang on as you say, and he too gives the wall a little kiss. Obviously everyone thinks that that wall is doing something like a red light district in the window.
I think he lost did he lose his front wing in that? I think he did.
No,
he's got a front wing on that car.
He's kept it. It's just that the the DHR car, naughty Simon, has a black one and you can barely see it, and he's right at the end of the lane. Melem has already gone through and taken the lead, which is just how much of an advantage he's got. As has Michael Sen, as has Mirko Lupini, and Luca's going to come out just where he started in 4th position, and again, due to his little incident, has fallen down. 5th place Michael Fulcher is in the pits too for Ash Racing, but Greg Lawson soon yoinked that one away. And Greg Lawson has passed, who was it that we saw have a little fun run in the pits? Stasiunis. And Stasiunis is suddenly down in 16th position, and that's because he stopped out on track. And he's just retired. Orinantis Stasiunis has just retired. Elia Costa too is out, and that was the first time he's ever ran in a points-paying position. So not a good lap there for DHR Racing.
No, because Luca Lupini's managed to lose a bucket load of time to his brother and to Michael Sen. So I'm not exactly sure what's caused that, but Luca Lupini's in-lap was obviously not that great. It could have been the fact that he French-kissed the barrier on the way in, but it didn't seem to hurt Michael Sen that much. I'm not exactly sure what's happened there. Luca Lupini just off the pace in his in-lap, and it's actually cost him about 3 seconds to the gearbox of his brother.
I'll tell you who else who might be in trouble as well. Benjamin Chong is currently in 10th position. He done a pit stop on lap 7, and that's very, very early if you're one stopping. And the tyres will last, but I don't think that's normal for anyone else. And Chong has been experimenting with 2 stops lately, and I think he's about to have another miserable realisation that one stopping is certainly the way to go, usually in AMA, as Mirko Lupini there just caught a bucket load of time over Michael Sen in the bus stop. Sen obviously thinking that he was on British Rail coming out of that corner, and Mirko Lupini is going to be primed for another run down to Le Combe, and he's sniffing his rear like a dog on heat through Eau Rouge. He's going to be going for it as we ride on board with Mirko Lupini, and that corner gives me chills, and maybe a little bit of a wetness in my pants, but that's another story. Mirko Lupini pulls out wide. Is he going to try and go around the outside down at Le Combe? Sen closes the door there, which is perfectly entitled to do, I believe, and lives to fight another day around that nasty bump, which I think has seen many a nose cone. And Sen there a bit wobbly, and that's going to set him up for Lupini to get right onto it. Lupini's got a car that's much more together, I think, Matt.
Yeah, Lupini's car certainly looking the pacier. Definitely on fresh tyres, it's a better looking car. I'm not so sure about once the car gets low on fuel and once the tyres wear a little bit, whether it's as good. Perhaps its tyres get a little bit warm and it falls off the cliff a little bit in terms of performance. But definitely on fresh tyres. We saw at the start of the Grand Prix, Mirko Lupini's car is very much dominant. And it's going to be up to Michael Sen here to about how much he wants this second place. Mirko Lupini throwing it very, very wide there, and well, he's certainly not leaving anything out on track, is he?
No, he's certainly not, as Alex Cooper gets out of the way and lets them through. Very generous there, my good teamie. But Mirko Lupini's going to have another go. He does favour the outside to try and get the inside, but Michael Sen just does the double switch and covers it. He learnt from the first time where Mirko just snuck it on through. And behind, Luca Lupini spending more time off-road than he is on-road, as Lupini, bus stop, not the best place to go for it.
Michael Sen's locked the brake through La Source. That was looking very close there for a minute, but he managed to close the door. Just with that entry to La Source, into La Source and also the bus stop, Michael Sen, even down here to Le Combe, is committing to the defensive line very, very early and forcing Lupini to the outside. Ooh. Now, it's costing him a lot of time doing that, and I'm not sure if he's committing to a defensive line just a little bit too early, and could force Lupini to make the move rather than just hanging him out to dry. It's working at the moment, but it's costing them a mountain load of time.
Yeah, Benjamin Chung, P11, he's just gone wide at La Source, doing that break locking that Michael Sen was just doing, and Anthony Herbert has just slivered on by for 11th position. Currently looking like Anthony Herbert's best result of 2009 by far. I don't think he's actually scored so far this season, so Chung back in the slipstream, and it'll be interesting to see if people further down the order are doing the same thing. Herbert goes defensive, Chung stays in the slipstream. Now Herbert should not be able to get back across, and he's weaving everywhere. Oh, contact! And Anthony Herbert, they're doing a little bit of weaving, which is a little bit naughty, and he might find himself bending over for the stewards to give him a whack on the bum with a ruler, because that's not quite how the racing books tell you to do things. As Mirko Lupini not quite in the slipstream this time at bus stop to do his regular look, but yeah, a bit of weaving there by Herbert, not doing well. And Van der Hooydonk, Malcolm Rice has lost his ring at Puom, I think, there. He's all over the place, and is he pulling off to retire? He's not exactly getting on the track. Oh no, Malcolm Rice from 8th position. No front wing, no rear wing, no anything. And that's a retirement, and that's a big shame there for Malcolm Rice, because he was doing one of his better drives of 2009. And Mirko Lupini's past Sen. Oh, it's all kicking off here at the Belgian GP. And Sen straight back on the offensive there, trying to go around the outside, and it'll be interesting to see if he tries to hold it round the outside. And he does there. Mirko Lupini brake way too early, but Sen's on the curbs there, and Lupini's going to have a go through round the dodgy bump. Both staying on. Lupini definitely taking more of the track and a little bit more. Kicking up the dust. Sen goes defensive, chops him off, which he's entitled to do. And Luca Lupini, and watch him brief, his goggles will be full of his brother and Michael Sen doing battle like some kind of Colosseum duel. This is fantastic stuff for Formula Sim racing.
Absolutely, this is by far the most exciting race of the season so far.
Greg Lawson has spun in 5th position.
Question is, will it cost him position over Michael Fulcher, who's 6th place? There's a significant gap of 11 seconds last time through. Greg Lawson safely maintains 5th position, but that will well and truly end any hope he had of moving higher, unless either
Dovydas Malionauskas has... Oh, sorry, Matt, sorry.
You're okay.
I was just going to say, Dovydas Malionauskas has just completely missed Lecom altogether. I thought Mans Van der Hooydonk was just about to pass him, but he didn't, so I'm sorry, everybody. As Mirko Lupini, Luca Lupini and Michael Sen are having a ménage à trois down at bus stop, and Luca Lupini fancies a little bit of this one, I think.
Yep. Most people usually do with ménage à trois. He spins and clips Mirko Lupini, but gets away with it. Wow! Luca Lupini got on the grass there and lost the rear of the car, spun into the side of Mirko Lupini, but they both... Well, Mirko Lupini definitely got away, but Luca Lupini's lost a mountain of time. That could be damage to both cars after that little incident. Good news for Michael Sen, it gives him a little bit of a breather, no matter how short it lasts, because it looks like Mirko Lupini's already making up that time on him.
Well, I wouldn't want to be Mama Lupini at the dinner table tonight after that manoeuvre, because I think that will be a bit of brotherly fun, as we've got a replay up, courtesy of director Karol Poniatowski, and he is going to show us... Oh, no replay. There you go, blink and miss it. But, definitely, Lupini brothers there, a little bit like Nürburgring 97, I believe, for a certain... Schumacher lot, as Benjamin Chong in for his 2nd stop. I told you that strategy wouldn't work, and he'll be lucky to go away with points this weekend, as Rizwan Sarwar, who's just done an awful bus stop chicane, is about to yoink his 12th position.
He may just hold on here to a top 14. Georgios Lapis is coming through now. I think we have a replay here of Luca Lupini spinning into La Source.
Yeah, what happened there, he just gets on the grass, trying to kind of create room that wasn't really there, and a shame there for Luca Lupini, but that's dropped him 3 seconds off the back of Mirko, who's now going to have a dive down the inside of Michael Sen. Not going to work there, but in a slipstream, and have another one of your Lupini specialities, which I believe may well be served with a side of pasta, down into Lecom, and I think we could have a good fun of it. just while we're watching this, I'll do a quick rundown of the order because we've only got 18 drivers still running. Melem, we've barely seen him all race, but he's swinging away out in the lead there by some amazing 10 seconds. By far the best commanding performance of Pedro Melem so far in 2009. He's really stepped up to it. Superb battle of Michael Sen and Mirko Lupini, second and third. Luca Lupini, watching briefing 4, half a minute down the track. Greg Lawson 5, he's about to be under attack by Michael Fulcher, who's closing in on 6th. Priyat Valia, good recovery drive to 7. Davidas Malinauskas is 8, Heinz van der Hooydonk 9, Anthony Herbert top 10 position, I think that might be his top 10 ever. Marco van der Broek 11, again his best ever race on his home GP. Benjamin Chong 12, Rusvan Sarwar 13, Giorgio Lapis 14th on his debut, so you may get a point for Rothmans. Then 1 lap down, Tom Alders has just been in the pits, Alex Cooper, Ivan Kolyunov, what on earth has happened to him? Oh, of course he went off and lost all of his wings and decided to go skinny dipping, didn't he? And Morris Zandog is the last runner, 18th, 1 lap down.
And there are not that many laps left in this Grand Prix, so I'm not sure how many more retirements we'll see. Yeah, I was just going to say that I nearly thought it was going to be one of these races where all the finishers would get...
Whoa, Mirko Lupini!
Around the outside! Woo! Well, he's outbroke himself there. He had a go around the outside. Michael Sen having nothing of it. Held his line, Mirko Lupini throwing it off the road. And Michael Sen lives to fight another day in second position. This has got to be the greatest race-long battle we have seen all season, Simon.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'll tell you what, I love Formula Sim racing when it turns up stuff like this. Mirko Lupini there, I think, was doing a do or die because he always done that down the outside, but Sen had it covered, so Lupini deciding there to go and give it a little bit extra welly. And give him a right kick up the ear, but unfortunately, and I find it as well, you think you can brake later into that bus stop chicane than you actually can, and you're carrying so much speed into that corner that you just carry it on through and you end up off the track. And of course, if you cut that corner, it discounts that lap for you, so it's better to try and recover it and lose a couple of seconds and lose an entire lap and find yourself slap bang last, as Priyat Valia just behind these lot is right on Michael Fulcher for 6 and 7, although Valia made a mistake coming out of Eau Rouge and has dropped back slightly.
I'd just like to mention a couple of the guys who are up there in the top 10 at the moment in Malinauskas, Van der Hooydonk and Anthony Herbert, who we have seen involved in more than one incident here today, and yet here they are, solely in the top 10. It's just phenomenal. It just goes to show that at a race like this, it's not about so much keeping your nose clean as much as, you know, obviously that's a good trait to have, but it's more about when the inevitable does occur, just knuckle down, get your head down, concentrate, do your laps, and find yourself back up there in solid points. Mirko Lupini again looking down the outside at the bus stop. Doesn't make it happen this time. He's a little bit more patient this time, and this could be what he needs to do. No need to do a do or die move at bus stop. Maintain the gap, get nice and
he's
close,
going to have a go, though.
and then use the start of the next lap. Here we go. Now he's right on the back of him at La Source. He's lost a little bit of time on the exit, but I think what he needs to do is really plan this one out, Simon. If he can stay on the back of Michael Sen through bus stop and then La Source, and be right on his gearbox when he comes out of Eau Rouge, I don't think Michael Sen's going to have much to counter against him, because he's certainly faster down the straight, so he can almost have a look here into Lacombe. But I think if he's a little bit smarter about it, and rather than trying to make the move, actually sit on his gearbox through bus stop and La Source, and stay there for Eau Rouge, of course, and then concentrate on making his move at Lacombe, I think that's going to be his best bet, to be honest. Because if he's right on him out of Eau Rouge, I don't think Michael Sen's going to be able to do anything about it. He'll be in front of him by the time they get to the end of the straight.
Absolutely. Hans van der Hooydonk, sorry, while we just watched this battle, is in the pits. And is that Michael? No, it's not. Someone going off that was being lapped. Heinz van der Hooydonk is in the pits. He must have miscalculated his fuel, and that's dropped him from 9th to 12th, so that's a disaster for him. But yeah, Mirko Lupini needs to just calm it and plan it, just as you were saying. Michael Sen's advantage is the fact that he's just placing his car wherever Lupini wants to go and just keeps it there and plonks it there, and Lupini's having to do all the work, and he's getting more and more frustrated as he gets sucked up into the slipstream, and he's going to go for his outside routine. I've seen more sequels of that than I have sequels of Friday the 13th movies, I think. But Sen covers the line just like old times, and he's got one more lap to do it, and he was about to go into the barrier there of the pit wall, and Lupini, is he going to try a dive? Oh, he is. Oh, a little bit of contact and nudgage, but Sen holds it again, and he's got this one last chance really to do it, unless he's going to just throw it at bus stop and hope for the best, and he's banging to the slipstream. And he's got to keep it on. He pulls out to the outside as Sen goes once again defensive very early. The theory behind that being that you chop off their slipstream, but Lupini has not got it. Sen was better on the brakes, and he's got one more chance to do it if he's going to do it at all. And Pedro Mellon, 8 seconds ahead, might have been half asleep and just waltzing around, thinking, what on earth? Where on earth is everyone else? Class of the field there today, Pedro Mellon. Unchallenged, untouched. Fantastic drive by the Portuguese driver.
Easily the driver of the day. Pedro Mellon, in the absence of Mohammed Patel, has absolutely well and truly stepped up, as everyone's been saying he's had to. He's certainly put in the effort here today. A terrific, flawless drive. 9.4 seconds ahead of Sen and Lupini. He's been able to just manage his gap, drive the race he wanted to. He hasn't had to battle with anybody. He didn't start from pole position, but he had to lead into the turn one, and he's done what he had to do, and he's going to make maximum impact on Mohammed Patel's lead as he comes through the bus stop chicane for the very last time today. Exits the corner, runs over the curb, pulls to the right-hand side, raises a fist in the air, weaves back and forth, and wins the Belgian Grand Prix for 2009 AMA World Series FSR. And terrific drive today. Second place, Michael Sen holds out Mirko Lupini by a little over 0.2 of a second. A terrific race-long battle between those two, who finished ahead just in front of Luca Lupini, who got within half a second of his brother there right at the end, and Pedro Mellon's managed to get it sideways there after La Source. That's a rather odd thing to do.
A little bit of victory lane spinning for the two. Of course, it's a 1-2 despite Mohammed Patel. Tillman Motorsport continue their 1-2 success there as Tom Alders smashes into Mellon. I think Alders doesn't realise that the race has finished. Of course, he's a lap down. But well done there. Top Torrent Motorsport peoples. A 1-2 there, and Mirko Lupini did do one of his sequels down the outside in the final corner. I was watching, but Sen done his usual and covered the line, and what a fantastic battle that was. Certainly a highlight of 2009 for me, really. Luca Lupini fourth, second to fourth, covered by 0.7 of a second, and I think that says it all about what the star attraction is of Formula Sim racing. Close, fantastic racing up and down the field.
It was simply phenomenal to watch. Standouts. Greg Lawson finished in 5th position. He dropped all the way through the field at the start, managed to get himself back up into 5th place. That's a terrific result for him, and he's kept his head down, knuckled down, and he's got himself back up into 5th. A great result. Priet Valja keeps up his strong, consistent run of finishes. Michael Fulcher there in 7th place. Dovidas Malinauskas, 8th position. Anthony Herbert secures that 9th position into the top 10. And Marco Vandenbroek, he gets his first top 10 that I've recalled for the season as well. It's a good result. Benjamin Chong, despite 2 stopping, manages to come home 11th. Rizwan Sarwar, 12th place, grabs himself a few points. Georges Lapis there in 13th position for Rothmans F1 Racing in his first race, so points on debut, terrific result for him. And Tom Alders for Faster Than Speed rounds out 14th and rounds off what was a pretty miserable day for Faster Than Speed. Simon, he was the only one of their cars that actually finished the race.
Yeah, which can't be bad for their first ever GP. Someone has gone missing somewhere, because Tom Alders thinks that he's actually 15th, and I thought he was too. So someone's gone AWOL at the very end of that GP somewhere along the line. But never mind, he doesn't care. He's now 14th, and he's got a point. Kolyunov, 1 lap down 15. What a disaster for him with his various Destruction Derby fun that he was doing. Alex Cooper, 16th. 1 lap down. Maurice Sondag, 17, 1 lap down. It's Heinz van der Hooydonk, 18th. He was running, of course, 13th position, and he must have been given some kind of penalty or something, because he's lost everything on the final lap and ends up classified 18th. Non-classifications, Malcolm Rice, suspension failure. He crashed out on lap 15 at Puam. Orianatastatius went into the pit lane wall, ever the best way to retire, I think. Someone asked David Coulthard about that one, and Roberto Moreno. Elio Costa, he retired while in the points-paying position for the first time in his career. Ari Caselli, I saw crash out as well. Thomas Marino only lasted 4 laps. Alberto Duan only lasted the 2, as did Michael Pieneman, as the faster-than-speed I Want to Retire Fest started. Ajib Balwal didn't even get round the formation lap before causing all various dramas.
Absolutely. I think judging by the way that Van der Hooijdonk had that late pit stop, he may well have had a pit lane speeding infringement, which would have added a fair bit of time to his finishing time, which could account for the fact why he went down, or perhaps he cut that last chicane there on the last lap or so and dropped him down the field. Regardless, it means Tom Aldaz gets himself a point, which is a great result, but I've got to say, so I'm out of breath after that one. That was just purely a high-intensity, exciting race, especially the race between Michael Sen and the Lapini brothers. It was, you couldn't take your eyes off it, really.
No, it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've got sweaty mitts, and all I was doing was sitting here watching, let alone driving. That was absolutely fantastic. Can't really... just fantastic. Best race of Formula Sim racing that I've watched for a very, very long time, and that includes those dirty little World Championship drivers. What we will do, the stallions aren't quite up yet, so we won't tell you the end result of that, but Pedro Melem takes out a fantastic 25-point chunk on Mohamed Patel, and if he's able to do that again in Valencia in 2 weeks' time, suddenly we've got a championship bang right back on again. That was the best result and the best possible race I think that Pedro Melem could have done at any possible situation, and that's got me excited for the championship.
Absolutely. Maximum damage, the 61 points all of a sudden becomes, if my maths is right, it becomes 36 points. So, I mean, if he does that again, then all of a sudden your gap's down to 11, and you're looking at a much closer finish to the championship. So maximum impact from Pedro Melem on Mohamed Patel, and that's exactly what he needed to do. And he stepped up today and delivered it, and he delivered it convincingly. He never looked headed after the first corner, and he's probably helped by the fact that Sen was battling with the Lapini brothers, and he never looked like he was going to lose that race. And full hats off to him. He's driven a race that everybody said he needed to drive, and he's really stepped up and filled the void of Patel's absence, and it's a great result, and I'm very, very happy to see it.
Yeah, and there was some other small champions or small fantastic ones going on further down the field. We have season best and career best finish for Marco van der Broek, who scores the same amount of points today as what he's done for the entire season to date, and on his home Grand Prix with his special helmet design as well, so he'll be particularly pleased with that. Anthony Herbert has more than doubled his point scoring finish, and I think that may well be his best ever finish of his FSR career, so congratulations to Anthony Herbert. As well, first points of their career for Tom Alders, after a couple of DNQs, so to get into his first race and score a point, it's like Christmas and New Year rolled into one. And of course we had another debutant as well score his first points in 13.
Georges Lapis. Yeah,
that's the one.
Great result.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. He drove a terrific result and or terrific race to come home with points on debut. Jeez, I wish I had been able to do that. So I'm sorry, boss.
That's all right. You still beat me home, so I mean, well, mind you, that's not too hard, really, to be honest. But yeah, fantastic stuff from debutants. But we'll be out hoping that the same amount of carnage happens tomorrow in the ADV race, so we can pick up a point or two. That'd be very nice. But I won't wish for too much. But we are about to have a little chit-chat fest in the broadcast box. I can see various drivers jumping and leaping at the microphones, but I think they're taking a quick pit stop at your stash of Belgian beer, Matt.
that should certainly spice up the interviews. I'm looking forward to this one. Half a pint of Belgian beer into some of these guys, and after a pretty frenetic race, it's probably going to be a good combination for some exciting PSR TV. So we'll just wait for some of these guys to join us here in the broadcast booth, and then we'll get started firing some questions at them. And I know that among them is going to be our dominant race winner, say Pedro Mello. So I'm very much looking forward to having a chat with him about today's race.
Certainly, we've got man of the race, Pedro Mellem, and reject of the race, Ajibalo, looking good for us. And homecomer heroes, Marco van der Broek and Maurice Sondag, look like they'll be chit-chatting with us as well. So I think I'm going to pull out my extra extendable sofa and get everyone in for a beer, and let's have a good old chinwag, why not?
Absolutely, it's going to be our best turnout yet for these post-race interviews. Perhaps we've turned a corner, Simon. We're now actually looking like an attractive pair to talk to at the conclusion of a race. It's great. Yeah, we're getting obviously building up some type of fan base. Then it's looking very good. So as I said, we'll just wait for these guys to join us, and we'll get started firing some questions at them. But well, you mentioned about the ADV race tomorrow, and obviously the subsequent races to come for Pro and the Ace and World Championship as well. If they're half as exciting as today, it's you wouldn't want to miss them for the world.
Certainly not. I mean, I'm glad I've bought a couple of pairs of knickers to change into, well, not knickers, pants rather, to change into. I've not just revealed.
I was going to say
secret life.
Yeah, I think you wanted to keep that one to yourself, Si.
Well, it's I like to call my team No Frills, and that's probably because I'm wearing them all. But that's besides the point.
Dearie me. The line's back there. I think we walked over it, but yeah, it looks good out here.
Thank you very much. There's just a bit of tumbleweed going across my one, but yeah, we've got the Course Pro coming up later on. We'll be able to see whether the usual suspects from Pro, a certain Dave Carr-Smith, might be able to take some victories there, or Lucas Euler likes to hog a lot of wins in there. And then you've got tomorrow ADV with Borna Spogliarek continuing his general world domination. Then you've got Ace Sunday afternoon from about 2 p.m. GMT, where Mikko Pumalainen and Fred Goslin will do battle with our cameraman extraordinaire, Karol Poniatowski, who will be switching his camera mitts for some driving mitts and seeing how he goes there. And lastly but not least, the Sunday evening gives us our World Championship, which of course you can join from 8 p.m. GMT to see whether Roy Colby can ever be unseated, and another cameraman and commentator as well, Dennis Hirrell, man of multi-skills and talents, seeing what he can do to keep the Twister domination going on. And also keep tuned to the forums. We're going to be seeing if we can start up some kind of fan base forum for Formula Sim Racing, because we're going to be doing some podcasts coming up shortly, which I shall be involved in, and if anyone wants to get involved in, please contact myself. And it looks like it will be good fun. Everyone can come along, chat a load of old rubbish, and you know you're going to be chatting more sense than half of the commentary team on the BBC.
Well, you know, I'll put my hand up for anything that includes people hearing the sound of my voice. So you can count me in for some podcasts, Si. Excellent.
There we go. Recruitment team underway, and we should be doing driver interviews and general chit-chat of rubbish. And we also have a host of videos in production at the moment, courtesy of myself, teaching you just exactly how to and how not to drive. But unfortunately, I think I was completely pasted by any of that, by the sheer fantasticness of the driving that actually went on today. And let's go and talk to some of these drivers who have now de-sweated and bearded themselves up to the eyeballs, and let's get this show underway.
We're just waiting for our first target to join us, and well, we might start with top cab of the rank today. We're going to start with our race winner and a man who I'm sure is going to sound much happier than the last time we spoke to him a fortnight ago. Pedro Mello, congratulations, mate. That was a terrific race.
Thank you, Mark. It was a great win. My first win, as you know. Really excited and happy.
Yeah, that was absolutely superb. Congratulations, Pedro, on your fantastic result. First win. How do you feel now that your duck has been broken and metaphorically smashed to a million pieces and you won't be hearing any more quacks from it?
Just really happy. I've done what I could. I told you guys I could win. It was just a matter of time. Of course, with Patel out of the race, was easier, but was a good race, a good result. I'm really, really happy. It's because it's my first win, and from now it's only winning, on my point of view.
Moving away from metaphorical ducks that Simon's talking about and moving more towards what happened on track, you took the lead there at the first corner with a pretty gutsy move on the pole sitter, and really you weren't headed from there. So you came out of La Source in the lead. What went through your head from there, and did you have any hairy moments throughout the race, or was everything well under control for you?
The race was normal. I heard from the team radio that the guys in the back were battling, and I pushed a bit in the beginning, but then I just stood there racing my race. I had a tough moment when coming to the last two corners. I overshot my braking point and run away from the track, but was okay. I keep the pace after that, and there it is, the first win for me.
Sorry, I was just diving in my chocolate fountain. So now you have 25 glorious points from what was a fantastic race from Spa, where I bet you was imagining where on earth is everybody, because you were swanning away with plenty of lead. Looking forward to Valencia in 2 weeks' time. Is your aim again, I assume, another 25 golden points, so that you suddenly are only 11 points behind Mohammed Patel when he returns?
Yeah, I'm pushing the best I can to keep the gap between me and Patel smaller and smaller. Of course, it will be difficult after he returns, but with the gap in 11 points, it will be much easier for me to try to take the championship from him. But we'll see. We got still some more races. Everything can happen, but I'm looking forward to the next few races.
Well, so are we. I can guarantee you that, Pedro. That was a fantastic drive from you today. Congratulations on your first victory and taking that massive swag of points out of Mohammed in his absence. And, I think that even if he was here today, he would have struggled to beat you, because you were absolutely flawless on track. And we commend you for it, and thank you for taking the time to come up and talk to us today.
Thank you.
Anything to finish off with, Pedro, Si?
No. Just accept. Go and get another 25 points, please, Pedro.
I will, Simon, for you.
I second that, mate. I second that. Well, we'll move on to another one of our drivers today, celebrating his best result ever, Marco van der Broek. Congratulations on a strong Grand Prix for you, mate, and that must have been just avoiding the carnage there at the start.
Yeah, it was actually pretty easy at the start, because I was on the inside line on the La Source corner, which I learned through the years in Spa. Of course, it's my home GP. So I took the inside, and I was pretty flying through La Source, and from the beginning already, and then Eau Rouge was pretty easy to do so, because I had almost no cars left in front of me, which were actually slower. From then I was to Les Combes. On the way to Les Combes there were a few difficulties with some drivers, which I easily managed to hold off, so it was a pretty good start, a pretty good race.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming along, Marco. Congratulations on your first top 10 finish in Formula Sim racing. How do you feel as well about being top Williamson Dynamics driver, of course, because EF1 is part of Williamson Dynamics? That's the first time you've done that.
Yeah, I feel actually pretty good at that, because especially when it's my home GP, I try to do my best even more as I can. And well, yeah, okay, I feel sorry for Benjamin that he had to pit last time, and he had some troubles on the start, I think. But nevertheless, it's a great race and a great finish for Williamson Dynamics as well. He was behind me, and I just had to keep pushing to keep him behind me. But after a while, well, he at the last lap, I think he loosed a bit on me, and the gap stayed as it was. So I was happy with my 10th place with there.
As well, you should be as well. We discussed the start and the fact that this is your best result and a great swag of points for you here. But looking at the middle of the race, did you have any hairy moments out there? Were there any times when you got a bit close to any other cars, or came close to putting the thing into the Armco?
Yeah, I had a few times actually where I hit my car almost against someone or a wall, because it's a hard track when you do things like this, and I almost hit the back of I don't know who it was. I guess it was Prit Value, who I avoided in the breakdown to bus stop chicane. Then 2 laps before my pit stop, I spun around in the bus stop chicane. When I spun around, I had someone in my helmet, so in my vision, who was actually just stopped to go in the pit lane. And after my pit stop, I had a small slide. Happily, it wasn't rain, because if it was rain, I would have the same crash like Raikkonen last year.
Which is never a good thing. So one last question, Marco, before we let you skedaddle and enjoy the rest of your home GP celebrations. Looking forward to the rest of the season, are there any other tracks where you think you can repeat your top 10 feat?
Well, I hope Monza will do, because Monza is my second favorite track after Spa in the calendar. So I'll hope to go there and beat some scrub or beat some rubber out of it again. And well, I hope to repeat this every race, but I know this can't be true. So well, let's see to the next following races for that.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming up and taking some time to talk to us today, Marco. We appreciate it muchly. And congratulations on your best result here. And on behalf of the entire world, let me thank you for the Spa Francorchamps circuit, because it's certainly one of the best out there. And congratulations on such a strong result today.
Yeah, I'm up for some Belgian fries and beer now. So see you later, mate.
Well, I've got plenty of beer around. Don't worry about that. Well, moving on from Marco, who we thank for joining us, we've got a man who didn't even get to start the Grand Prix today in Ajabolalol, and that was a tough start, mate. We didn't even see you take the start.
Either time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the first time, just had a problem with the R factor, which wouldn't let me click the race to get into the formation lap. So, we had to, the race director restarted because of that, and then the second time it went okay, and then just coming into that the downhill corner, the screen just froze. Next thing I knew, I was into the barriers, and then I should have just pressed escape, but obviously I've never been in a situation like that, so I didn't know. So then I carried on, got to the pits, and then I was given a whisper by the race director, Miko. And he told me to escape, but when I escaped and tried to go back, it was too late. But Miko didn't know it was too late, so it's just unlucky.
What had you been able to have made it round and actually started the race at all? Where do you think you might have come, Ajabar?
Well, I definitely would have been down like 20 seconds or so, but in practice for the race, I had race winning pace. So I think I would have at least I could have got to top 5, because I think my teammate, who started 26th, who started in the pit lane, and during practice I was looking in better form, so it's just frustrating.
Well, certainly was hard luck today, mate. We feel for you. As you know, when you get caught out by those technical problems, there's not much you can really do about it. But you've had a good start to the season so far. Do you think you can carry that on to the remainder of the year? And are you looking forward to any of the tracks coming up?
Well, I wouldn't say good start to the season. It's been up and down season for me. I've had lots of potential, but one race or another, it's been messed up. Subject to tracks, I've got Suzuka I'm looking forward to. Valencia I always run well at. No Cedars Yas Marino, which is looking like a pretty good track, so just can't wait to get moving again.
Well, terrific. Well, we thank you for popping up and having a word with Sayaj Bola. Anything to finish off there, Si?
No, I just said it all.
Just want to give a shout out to Pedro Emilian. I just want to say congratulations to him, and also sorry to everyone for the restart, and it won't happen again hopefully. Thanks for having me.
No problems, mate. There's no need to apologise. These things happen. I don't think there's
It's
don't
half
think
the
anybody's
fun.
going to hold it against you. Yeah, exactly. So we'll finish off that one. We'll move on to a guy who had a very difficult race. So they're currently third in the championship, but I guess would have hoped for a little bit better today is Ivan Kalyanov, and that was hard luck out there today, Ivan. Looks like you got caught in some incidents out there.
Yeah, I knew since the beginning of today that today would be a pretty difficult day. Yeah, I hadn't touched this track at all since I came on the server, so I had only about 5 or 6 hours to practice till the start of the race, as opposed to having like 30 for a normal Grand Prix. Yeah, so the result was I could only start 13th. That was the best I could do for Q1. But the thing is, I don't know what happened. The race pace just seemed to be a little bit better than qualifying pace. So, yeah, the race started. I was starting on the outside line, so it was very difficult to. At the very start, the guy in front of me, it was one of the Rice Racing cars. I didn't know who it was. He didn't get off to the lights, so I had to actually press the brakes so I wouldn't hit him from behind. And as a result, someone nicked my rear wing. I had a little bit of damage. It wasn't race ending, but my car was wobbling a bit. I was losing maybe 2 or 3 tenths a lap. Still, I still was fairly confident in my pace. And then I just saw how guys were just flying off the track left and right. I don't know. I guess people were just a little bit careless. And somehow I wound up overtaking a bit here and there and got to 8th place. Then in front of me, I think it was Dewan or someone, one of the Fast and Speed cars. If it's not him, I'm sorry. But yeah, I think he had a spin at the bus stop chicane, and he wanted to cut back in front of the line not to lose any additional places. And he cut back right in front of my line, and I had nowhere to go, and just connected with him. After that, I had a lot of damage. Car was pretty much uncontrollable. 2 or 3 laps after that, I was already 15th. I had a spin and hit the barrier, lost both wings. Yeah, I got the car back to the pitted, came out like 19th, ran, and I had fuel till the end of the race when all the damage was fixed, but it really didn't matter at that point because I was a lap down on pretty much everyone. And yeah, ended up 15th or 16th, I think.
Well, that's hard luck, mate. That makes for a pretty tough race. So?
Yeah, well, if half the people had all those events happen in one season, I think they'd had a tough time. But you've had them all in one Grand Prix, so I don't know if you should count yourself lucky or not. But it was certainly an entertaining one for us to watch you jump around the track and do your various Destruction Derby bits and bobs. Now, you've only had 1 hour to practice for this GP, so you wasn't in your best form for it. But looking ahead to the races coming up, can you get your championship charge back on track? Say that again. It's too much this Belgian beer, Matt. Stop plying me with it. Sorry,
Si.
you've got you potentially could quite happily yoink second in a championship, or definitely third. Is that now your goal? And what tracks do you think that you'll be able to do it on?
Well, at the Nürburgring last race, Hungary, and today, I didn't have much practice, so I definitely wasn't at my best. But don't worry, we'll get back on the ball, and the ball will keep rolling pretty soon. Valencia again will probably be a bogey because the day before Valencia, I think it's the 4th. My vacation finally ends, so I'm coming back home, back to New York. And yeah, I'm gonna be arriving at about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I'm gonna have to basically practice up until the night, go to sleep, wake up, and then there's the race again. So again, a lack of practice. So I wouldn't expect much from Valencia as well. But after that, I think I'll be fairly confident in my pace. I think I'll get back on track and be as fast as I was. Yeah, I think we lost out on 3rd place this race in the championship because I think Mirko was able to jump me. He finished 3rd. So yeah, at the moment I just think I can get back my 3rd place and hopefully one win by the end of the season. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this has been an interesting experience because for the first time, or not first time, I've been a midfielder, and I see how actually difficult it is to be in the midfield. It's actually harder to drive to the midfield and get a decent result than to start from the front and win the race because there's so much stuff happening. It actually takes a lot of luck and a lot of talent to avoid all the trouble happening around you. So, yeah.
You want to try being like Simon and I and racing right at the very back and see how tough that is. That's another level of difficulty again.
Damage avoidance.
Yeah, for sure. So, but definitely thank you for coming up and having a word with us today, Ivan, and certainly hope that things improve for you. Well, definitely after Valencia and you can battle because the more guys who are racing at the front fighting for wins, the better the races are to commentate. So hard luck today, and hopefully you can bounce back again in the next few races. Anything to finish off there, Si?
No, thank you very much for coming, and thank you for completely surprising me by not having a voice that actually suits anything like the national flag that you have on your FSR page. So thank you for that. So, yeah, moving on.
We'll move on to one of your stablemates, and I'll let you do the introductions this time, Si, because this is a guy who drives for you.
Yeah, hello Maurice Sondag. I don't think we've actually talked to each other in person, so this is going to act as a team meeting as well as a driver's interview. But welcome Maurice. Unfortunately no points today, but still, great race, still finished, and we can hope for some disqualifications, and that'll get you some points. Talk us through your race.
Yes, Simon, thank you very much. Indeed, we never talked before, so that's a pleasure, of course. And yeah, no points today because in lap 1 I pretty much avoid all the contact at the first corner, but going through Les Sources and Eau Rouge, then someone just spun there and had his car on the track on the middle of the road and started driving again, and I picked the wrong side, so I banked full in his side and crashed pretty much my whole car. Lost my wing and my suspension was gone, so I had to go to the pits. Of course, I put it full with fuel for the whole race and try to make the best of it. But being lapped already in lap 2 wasn't easy, so I had to get off the track or the line pretty many times, and so that was hard luck. And the car didn't feel pretty well as well. A lot of oversteer at the fast corners, so yeah, it was a hard fight of today. But well, let's hope indeed some disqualifications will occur and I get some points as well. It worked the last time at Nürburgring, so.
Dearie me, let me just say on behalf of all the people who drive for Simon Smith, not all of us condone the use of disqualifications to gain points.
It's the only way we get any.
But Maurice, just like to, we just heard Ivan before saying how much he's learnt driving in the midfield, and how he thinks it takes more talent, more skill, and probably a little bit more determination on a lot of occasions as well. Is that how you see it? I mean, you've spent a fair bit of time racing in positions sort of 10 through 12 and 13, and the guys down there are pretty desperate, aren't they? And how do your races usually pan out when you're racing in that area of the track?
Well, that's true. I mean, it's just my second race in FSR, so that's pretty a new experience at all. Even being anywhere on the track and having all these fast guys around you, but yeah, it sure is an exciting venture to occur. And I must say that it's more fun if you race in the midfield and you get a result that really pleases you than just drive off and leave everyone behind and win the race. For the championship, of course, it's better for the points, but for the fun of racing, it's a lot of fun driving around that pack, yeah.
I was going to say maybe Pedro might disagree with you on that one, but I'll hand back over the side now to see if he's got any more questions.
Questions, excitement. Maurice, for the rest of the season, are there any particular? I'm not being biased at all, but are there any particular tracks that you think you might do well on, and some cash for your pocket?
Well, of course, all the tracks in Formula One I drive are really fun to drive at, and I think Valencia is a cool track. Never drove a race there, but did some testing already in private testing, and that's a cool one. And of course, tracks like Monza and all that. Yeah, it's fun. I always do the best to get the best result, Simon. So it won't be that, of course. But yeah, I'll try to get some points more this season and show the people what I can do.
I was going to say, you don't need to keep impressing the guy, Maurice. You've already got the drive, so you don't need to to keep
just turn up. That keeps me
happy. Got a job interview. Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't do as much as what you do, Maurice, but I just show up and Simon just continues to give me a job. So, but either way, well, thank you very much for taking the time to come up and chat with us here today, and all the best to you and obviously all the other drivers, because I can't be biased for the remainder of the season and for the next race at Valencia. And that's got to be our best turnout yet for post-race interviews, Simon. This, I think our telecast has gone about 3 hours over.
Yeah, we apologise to everyone for bandwidth consumption, but tough. Just a couple of little things. The stand-ins are now available on the Formula Sim Racing website, and I'll just take you a quick run through them before we sign off for the evening. But don't press that button, Simon, you silly sod. Let's have a look. We have, of course, Mohammed Patel on top, with Pedro Mellem just 36 points behind now, looking feisty, and he's in prime position to close that down to 11. Of course, as Matt said earlier, Mirko Lupini is third, the only other person that's gone over 100 points and scored the ton. Ivan Koinov fourth with 98. Olden Huis again absent. Obviously his girlfriend is keeping him under tight wraps while they move house in fifth. Had a BC long since gone sixth. Benjamin Chong scored a couple of points and has moved into seventh, ahead of one Nicola, who was noticeably absent this weekend after his tirade last time out. Malcolm Rice and Michael Sen equal 9, both Englishmen as well, so that should be interesting to see how that goes on. Ari Caselli is best of the rest afterwards. And in the Team Constructors Championships, we could be looking at a resolve situation for Valencia, because Torrent Motorsports have a staggering 345 points over Torrent Motorsports, but they're just sponsored by different Toyota sponsors. They've got 148. And Torrent Motorsport RedShiftNews.com, which is what Mohammed Patel and Pedro Mellem drive for, only need to score 33 points between them at Valencia to clinch the AMA Constructors title. And rounding off that, DHR have moved into third position, courtesy of Mirko Lupini deciding to race and be very fast.
I was just going to correct you on one thing there, Simon. Obviously, Mohammed Patel won't be scoring any points for the RedShiftNews.com car at the next race. However, Michael Sen drove for that team there today and finished second place. So it's if he does that job again in Valencia, it'll certainly tighten that thing up. And to be honest, Tyrant Motorsports would be silly not to run Michael Sen in that second car at the next race if Marvin Patel's still unavailable. Because you do want to wrap up that championship as soon as possible and just take as much pressure off yourself as you possibly can. Just before we do wrap up here, and I know we have already apologised for bandwidth consumption, we have another driver who wants to talk to us, and it's Rizwan Sawa. Yeah, and thanks for taking time to come up and talk to us here today, Rizwan. And how was your race for you? And how do you think how will you treat your Spa Grand Prix?
Hi guys. Well, it was alright. It was the best result for me so far, and I started from pit lane due to a penalty. It worked out pretty well in the end because I managed to score a couple of points. Had I started from the grid, I don't know what would have happened. I would have crashed or whatever. So it was a blessing in disguise for me. So I'm quite happy with the result for now.
So will you decide to start from the pit lane more often? I know you've done it at Monaco, and that was also the other place where you scored quite a few points as well. So do you think this is the new Rizwan Sawa tactic for 2009, start from the pit lane?
No, absolutely not. I would have liked to start from the grid. My race pace was pretty decent. I wasn't very far off from the leaders, but unfortunately I had the penalty, and so I had to serve it. It was my fault in the previous race, so rules are rules.
And we all abide by them with complete I'm not even sure the word I was thinking of there, but yeah, we all abide by them. Yeah, we all abide by them by something that's very, very good. You've probably had a bit of an up and down start to the season so far, Rizwan, but looking forward, do you think you have a more solid finish to the end of the year? You mentioned that your pace here wasn't too bad compared to the leaders. Do you think you can carry that to the next few Grand Prix?
Yeah, I've been working on my driving recently, and I've found some problems that I was having before, and I've fixed a couple of things which have helped me to understand to do long runs and how to maintain the pace throughout the race, and it's helping me for now, and that's why my pace was pretty consistent today. I'm quite happy about that. Previously I was in most of the races I was up and down, very fluctuating race, and frustration was most of the time cause of crashes or accidents or whatever, but this race was pretty good for me. I like the track as well, but I'm finding it much easier now to settle in the car and improve myself.
Good to hear. Si?
No, I can't think of anything. Good to hear from you, Rizwan, and let's hope that lap 1 continues to be a blessing for you as opposed to the usual accidental someone decides to napalm your car, and let's see you get some more points in the future. Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Echo those sentiments 100%. Well, I think we can sign this one off now, Simon. I think it's our longest telecast yet, so high five. So we'll sign this one off.
Team Mayonnaise.
To make sure you're watching the pro race and obviously the ace races, the ADV and World Championship, which are still to come over the remainder of the weekend, and then of course in 2 weeks' time when we head to Valencia, and I've actually got the calendar the right way around this time, which is unlike me, but well, it was a great race today. It's a great title chase heating up now with the absence of the leader, and I'm looking forward to the next races, Simon. I actually can't wait for them to see how this one goes down.
Yeah, I bet you won't be able to go to sleep now, will you?
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I'm pretty tired.
Well, thank you very much for listening, everyone, and I shall hand back to Matt. You'll see both of us in action tomorrow. Make sure to turn up for that, for the ADV race. Mini plug, and look forward to some more Formula Sim racing fun for the rest of the weekend.
Absolutely. We'll sign off now, and thank you very much for listening. And a quick shout out to our sponsors at PSR TV and Track IR Natural Point, and our affiliates there at World Ticket. And we'll catch you all next time for the Valencian Grand Prix, and make sure you stay tuned for the remaining races for the weekend. And we'll talk to you next time. Take care. Bye for now.